Title of today's message is Where is Your Focus? Part 2 out of John 17:4. 17:4. And it reads, I have esteemed you on the earth, having accomplished the work you have given me to do. I have esteemed you on the earth, having accomplished the work you have given me to do. You may be seated. You may be seated. You may be seated. How many of you know that in order for you to accomplish the work that He has for you to do, you must be focused on Him? See, the problem the question we're trying to answer is, where is our focus? Where is our focus? There are many things in this world today that will take your focus off the Father. Okay? They were deliberately put there originally by the Father, and now the enemy has somehow discombobulated the whole thing, so your focus is on the things of this world rather than the things of the kingdom that is to come. And I'm going to take it one step further, and I'm going to say, rather than in the kingdom that already is. Oh, come on now. See, the kingdom is already here. The kingdom has already come. And the kingdom has already been given. The question is, where is our focus? Where is our focus? And this is very, very important, because we are having some real wonderful times. Okay? And it's only going to get better as we continue. Okay? Now, for those of you who were not here last week, I'm going to go into a real brief review. In Luke 2, we found that Yeshua had stayed behind after his family had left Jerusalem. And when they traveled the day's journey, he wasn't with them. And because he wasn't with them, when they realized, they went around and he wasn't there, now they were worried. The very next day they head back. It took them 3 days to find him, and he was with the elders speaking and asking questions, and they were really astounded as to the things he had to say. I find it quite interesting that most of us, with the exception of our children, are beyond 12, and we're nowhere near this kind of focus. This is a 12-year-old. How many of us can recite the Torah? Don't look at me. Yet he could. Just like every other Hebrew boy by the age of 12. Okay? And yet he stood behind to take care of his father's business at 12. And here it is now, many years later, where he said, I have esteemed you on the earth. I have accomplished the work you have given me that I should do. How many of us can say that right now? That you've accomplished everything he has for you to do up to this point in your life? Raise your hand. I got to put mine down. I don't think I can raise it. Do you understand what I'm saying? This boy had a focus that was second to none. He didn't care what was going on around him. His focus was on the work he needed to do, because the Father has sent him to do it. And we know that from this moment forward, we went on forward to the crucifixion, okay, or the hanging of the stake. But in either case, this is where his focus was. So if that's the example of the focus we should have, that's a good example to have. Now, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, we had the woman with the issue of blood, and we read how in the first two, it was about getting the healing. In the third one, she got it. Okay? And we went over some of the things there, and this is, I didn't have this last week, and I'm going to bring it today. This is a talit from Israel. This is exactly what Yeshua HaMashiach would have been wearing when he was among his people. Now we read last week that he came with healing in his wings, the kanaf. And I told you that it has these little threads, okay? All right? And this is what she got a hold of. See. Okay? This thread is known as a tzitzi. Now, look at the little square that I told you about. That is the eagle's wing spoken of in the original covenant. See, so when she said, all I need to do is touch but the hem of his garment, the tzitzit and the Tanakh together spell out deliverance. The Tanakh and the tzitzit together spell out deliverance. So, you see, I was under the impression for many years that somehow she got over there, dropped to the ground, and was looking for, the bottom of his clothes, because that to me is it will be the hem.
Right. Yeah.
But that wasn't it. Okay, a little bit more research that I went into, and thank the Father for revealing it to me. It showed me that this is what she was after. And get this, it didn't matter which way she came, because he had one on his left in the front, right in the front, left in the back, right in the back. So it doesn't matter how she got there, she was going to find one. No matter which way she came, she's going to find one. You know why? Because he wants us to seek him so that someday we can find him. Now, let's take that one step further. Who's the one that's lost? Him or you? We are. Okay. He wants us to allow him to find us. And then once we're found, now we have access to the Talit. And it's very, very important. And let me tell you, when you begin to pray, this is how it's worn. It has a lot of functions. When it's down here, you're in social mode. The minute you go like this, you are in prayer mode. So there are many things this thing was used for. Okay? But this was the clothing of the day that he had, and I wanted to go over it because last week we didn't have a chance to go over it. But I want you to understand something. When she was on her way, there were three very important things that happened. First of all, she had already made up her mind that when she got a hold of this, whatever disease she had, it was over. She had determined and purpose in her heart. Okay? She was so focused that in the middle of a crowd, where most men are 6 feet tall, and she's probably about 5'5", meaning when she's looking up, she's seeing shoulders. She doesn't see Yeshua HaMashiach. And yet somehow she knew exactly where to find him because of her focus. She was so focused on him, nothing was going to keep her from there. And then eventually when she got there, she got exactly what she knew she was going to get. She was healed. But look at the focus. Look at her focus. Okay. Then of course we have Kepha. God, I love that man. Good old Peter. Kepha. Remember, he was in the boat. If it be you, may I come out there with you? Paraphrased. Come. Now I want you to understand something. As long as his focus was on Yeshua HaMashiach, he was walking on the water. As soon as his focus turned to the wind. As soon as the focus turned to the wind, he completely began to sink. Okay? So what is the parallel for us? If we lose our focus, trouble's coming. Okay? If you focus on the things of this world, the enemy has a shot at you. That's why I told you last week that I bet you most of the stuff that you went through or you're going through in this life, you were the one who messed it up. Now, that's not to say that some of you have not been through some trials that the Father allowed you to go through. But a lot of times we do things that get us in trouble. And then we cry out. Just like Kepha. Okay? And I want you to understand something. The Father will reach down every time you cry out. He will reach down every time you cry out. And then he'll look at you and say, wherefore didst thou doubt? Notice that the wind was a precursor to create doubt. If the enemy can get you to doubt, he's got you. Because there is no doubt in the word. It either is what it is or it's not. Okay? Now, where is our focus? Let's go to 1 Chronicles. Let's go to 1 Chronicles. Okay? Chapter 16.
Amen.
Now let's look at verses 10 and 11 of chapter 16 of 1 Chronicles. Devrei Hayamim.
Amen.
Now, verses 10 and 11. Boast in his Kodesh name. Let the heart of those seeking Yahweh rejoice. Seek Yahweh and his strength. Are you getting an idea of where your focus should be? Did you see that? Okay. Boast in his Kodesh name. Let the hearts of those seeking Yahweh rejoice. Seek Yahweh and his strength. Seek his face continually.
Amen.
Seek his face continually. 24/7, 365 and 366 one or the other year. The original covenant as well as the renewed make it quite clear that your focus should be on seeking him. See, but we focus on a lot of other things. Listen, there's nothing wrong with focusing on things of this world as long as your original focus is on above. In other words, you serve the Father and you still go to school. You serve the Father, you still go to work. You serve the Father, there are things you need to do here.
Right.
I mean, every member of this word, guess what? They all had a job. Do you know that I haven't found a single solitary person in the word that's entitled to anything? And yet we have more entitlement programs now than anything else. Go figure. Okay? The only thing you're entitled to is to seek his face. And everything else is taken care of after that. If you want to be on an entitlement program. Very, very important that we understand. Okay, I'm going to read this one more time. 16:10. Boast in his Kodesh name. That's something worth boasting about. His goodness, his greatness, his mercy, his grace, etc., etc. His provision. Let the heart of those seeking Yahweh rejoice. That's a good thing. A rejoicing heart is a happy heart. Seek Yahweh and his strength. In his strength you are strong. and seek his face continually. You know that if you seek his face continually, one day you're going to find it. One day you're going to find it. And when you do, trust me, you'll never want to leave it. When you're in his presence, you really, really don't want to leave. At least I don't. Okay, Jeremiah. Turn to the book of Jeremiah. Chapter 29. Jeremiah 29. If you're there, say amen. We're going to go through 11 through 13. Let me give you the general reason why we should always look for his face in verse number 11.
Amen.
For I know the plans I am planning for you, declares Yahweh. Plans of peace and not of evil, to give you an expectancy at a latter end. In other words, I've got it all figured out for you. All you got to do is focus on me. Focus on me. Then shall you call on me, and shall come and pray to me. Where have I heard that thing pray? I could have sworn I could have heard that earlier. Pray. I could have. We ever talk about praying around here? Okay. And shall come and pray to me, and I shall. That word shall is very significant here. Means he will listen to you every time you pray. Okay? And I shall listen to you. And you shall seek and shall find me. And so you're going to get to see that face you're looking for. I didn't say it, he did. When you search for me with all your heart. See, that's the condition. See, our focus may be right, but if the heart isn't, you got to seek with everything that is within you. Your heart has to be focused on him. Now, the important thing about the heart is that it will establish the love relationship between the two, a heart to heart. His heart to yours, your hearts to him, and now, when you seek his face, listen to me very carefully. We are a bride. And right now, we'd like to see our groom. Oh, come on now. Come on now. If I'm a bride and I know I have a groom and he's away, my heart is longing for him. And I want to seek him. And I want to find him. Especially if I don't know where he is. But in this case, I know exactly where he is. He's sitting at the right hand of my Father. I can find him. We can find who he is because of where he is. This is amazing. If your focus is right and your heart is right, you are going to be where you need to be whenever and wherever you are. Did you get that? How do we know this for a fact? Because he said, I have accomplished the work, all of it, that you sent me to do. Okay? So we need to make sure that our focus is where it needs to be. The enemy has figured out many wonderful different ways to get people out of focus. Okay. First, he started by destroying the home. Why? Because that was the first institution that the Father put together for mankind. Was the home. One man, one woman, children, house, land, whatever. Okay? And the enemy has figured out many different ways to mess with that home. And I'm not going to go into any of them. You guys already know what I'm talking about. Okay? So where is our focus? Okay? Flip over to 2 Chronicles. This is a scripture that you all know. 7:14. Some of you can probably recite it by heart, but that's okay. We'll read it.
Amen.
Okay? Now, I want to show you something that's really, really, really interesting. In the King James, it says, if my people. But in the original, it says, and my people, upon whom my name is called. Big difference between if versus and. Okay? Shall humble themselves, and here's that word again. Pray. And seek my face. Are you getting a hold of this? Do you realize that prayer and seeking his face kind of go together? And if you fast, even better. Are you getting the logistics here? Where is your focus? Are you praying to him? Are you praying daily? Are you seeking him daily in prayer and wherever else? Okay? And seek my face. And here's another condition. And turn from their evil ways. Why? Because the nature of who you are is evil. Why? Because you know good and evil. And turn from their evil ways, then shall I hear from the Shamayim and forgive their sins and heal their land. Do you know that this scripture is applicable to us right now? America, we, the people of America that belong to Elohim, okay, whose name is called, we need to, as a nation, the remnant, humble ourselves. We need to pray and seek his face as we turn from the evil ways, and even as Jeremiah did, remind him of the wickedness of our nation, that he may be the one who will listen to our cry and then heal this land. Our land is a mess. There is more sin on our land than anything else. And here's the sad part of it. It's in the church. We know the world has issues. We're trying to save them, right? He's talking to his people. Take the sin out of my house. He's not talking to the world. Listen to it right there. And my people. He's talking to my people. He's not talking to anybody else. He's letting us know we need to get something straight here, because the evil within us is not good. And the fact that we're actually putting it out there is even worse. Let me tell you something. How many of you remember Mahatma Gandhi? Okay? Do you know that one of the statements that he made was, I would have become a Christian except for the Christians I know? Come on. I would have become a Christian except for the Christians I know. What kind of example are you setting to the world that when they look at you and they see this word, it repulses them? Come on. Every time I hear people in Washington misquote this for political gain and lucre and everything else, oh man, it just eats at my liver.
Right.
Because all they're doing is abusing this word for their own personal gain. And what that does is it puts a black eye on my king. Not to mention the same black eye lands on my father. But all I have to do is seek his face and pray. Do you know that when America became a fully blown abominable state, in the essence of accepting homosexuality for what it is, the homosexuals said it's time for the homosexuals to come out and for the Christians to go into the closet. They have no idea how prophetic that is. In that closet, I have all kinds of power and authority available to me when I bow down on my knees and I seek his face and I begin to pray, and I pray in my own wisdom and I pray in the Spirit, and by the time I'm done, my Father and his Son are working on your behalf, even though you're still lost in the world.
Yes.
Whether you are in government, straight, crooked, I don't care what you are. In that closet, I can raise all kinds of standards. Why? Because they're his standards. And by my getting before him and seeking his face and saying, help! We are in trouble. You better be careful when you tell a Christian, a true man or woman of Elohim, when you tell them to go into the closet, you better ask them to intercede for you. They had no idea how prophetically they spoke. I thought it was cute. And that's when you know that they don't know what they're talking about. But is this where we are? Are we a people that is being described here, whom my name is called? Let me tell you something. We are those people. And the world is watching. And the minute you make a mistake, the minute you make a mistake, I thought you were a Christian. That's exactly what they tell you. Okay? You're supposed to be a woman of God. That's exactly what they'll tell you. They'll throw it in your face. So we need to be very careful with who we are and where we are, what we do, what we say, how we say it. Because even if you say the right thing, they'll still misinterpret it and turn it into something else. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. Let's move on now to what is our focus? Matthew 6:33. Did they say amen?
Amen.
But seek ye first the reign of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these shall be added to you. Where should your focus be? On seeking first his reign. See, we're out of focus here. We're out of focus. Why? Because sometimes our job means more to them than our reign. Why? Because we'll make it to our job on time. But we won't make it to other things on time. Listen, let me tell you something. it is better for you to say no than to give your word and not make it. Do you understand what I'm saying? If somebody asks you to do something, it is better for you to say no outright than to commit yourself and then not show up. Why? Because it puts a real bad light on who you are, and an even worse light on the fact that you don't keep your word. If you don't keep your word, then what good are you? If you can't keep your word, you won't keep his word. Did that hit somebody in the back of the head? Seek ye first the kingdom or his reign. But seek ye first the reign of Elohim and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. Now I want you to understand something. When you seek the reign of Elohim, you're going to get the reign of Elohim. But when you seek his righteousness, that's what the world is going to see. His righteousness in you. Your hope of glory. And we're going to go on to some other things besides this. But I want to make sure that we really understand that we have to have our focus. Turn to the new side of the book. And stop at Hebrews. And go all the way to chapter 11. When you're there, say Amen.
Amen.
Okay, now, this verse, most of you know. But without belief, it is impossible to please him. Verse 6. For he who comes to Elohim has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly do what?
Seek him.
Who earnestly do what? You guys have the same book I've got? You better, because we gave you one. Who earnestly do what? So your focus should be where? Oh, okay. We're finally getting a hold of this. Do you see how once your focus is right? You ready for this? I don't think you are. Once your focus is right, everything else in your life could be going to hell in a breadbasket, and it still doesn't matter because your focus is still on him, and he will see you through. He will deliver you. He will make sure that no matter what happens, at the end you will have a testimony of his goodness and his greatness and how he sustained you during all your troubled times. Come on now. I didn't say that. He did. But where is your focus? Well, it depends. If it's 4 o'clock, I'm probably watching the Ingram Angle. Really? I don't know. I just picked those two. I don't know what time they are, but do you understand what I'm saying? Seek, we've heard. Seek Elohim continually. Seek him with your whole heart, by faith, and rejoice, and Elohim will reward you. That's what we found out in all these scriptures. Seek Elohim continually. Seek him with your whole heart. Seek him by faith and rejoice, and Elohim will reward you. That's what we've been going over, all of that. Why is that important? Because it shows you everything that's going to happen to you once your focus is correct. Look, I know we have a lot of young people here. The worst thing we made for young people is video games. That takes up so much of their time. and they're focused. And then if that's not enough, we even went and made a cell phone. So when they're not on the video game, they could be on the cell phone. Okay? And then we pay for their Twitter. Or whatever else we pay for. So when they're not wasting time on the game or the phone, now they're tweeting with their friends, okay? And you ask them, did you read your word today? Oh, not yet. When do you plan to read it? Oh, I don't know. Man, I will grab that phone and turn that thing into a jigsaw puzzle. When it hits the ground, now put it back together. And when you find by faith the one, tell them to make it work for you. It's true. And let me tell you, there are more demonic games today than they've ever been in the history of mankind. There are more portals being used in television and telephones than anywhere else on the planet. And parents think it's okay. That's why we have such a rebellious generation today. Because they're watching the wrong thing, their focus is all wrong, and we're allowing the enemy to come in day after day, week after week, year after year, and we're wondering when we can't control our teens. We have the biggest epidemic of teenage pregnancy in the history of America. Why? Because the older women don't take the time to teach the younger women chastity. Not to mention, we, the elders, also teaching the young men. Am I correct, Brother Cisco? Teaching the young men chastity. When you get it together, take her before the altar, put a ring on her finger, and let the Father bless your union. This is where we are. Which means what? We've lost our focus. Now notice something. We lost our focus. So because we're not seeking Him, we don't find Him. If we don't find Him, we throw Him out. How do we know? Because we've thrown Him out of a lot of places in America. See? Now that we've thrown Him out, what did we throw away? His love. If we throw away His love, now you have people hating each other. And then with the love went the moral standard. Come on now. I'm not saying anything that's new. The moral standard went with them in the bathwater. And we're wondering how come we are such an immoral nation. We're wondering how come we have so many issues going on in government and everywhere else. Why? Because we don't have a moral standard. If we don't have a moral standard, people can act however they want because it's okay. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's go to Matthew. I had to wait all week for this. You know what? I was like Mauna Kea ready to blow my top. Woo! Thank you, Elohim. Matthew 7. When you're there, say Amen.
Amen.
Verses 13 and 14. Enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter in through it. This is not there, but it should read, and they're carrying their iPads on their way through. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to high, there are few who find it. Do you see how serious your focus is? There may be some of us here in this room who may not make it. I didn't say it, He did. But notice that the straight and narrow, the narrow path is hard pressed, meaning what? It's a tough road to walk on. Okay? And let me tell you why it's a tough road to walk on. when you get on the straight and narrow, the first enemies you get is the church. The second enemies you get is the world. And the third enemy you have is Satan and all of his cohorts. And they're all working against you. Why? Because he's in control of all of it. Unless Elohim is the focus, he's in control of it. Nobody wants to say amen. Okay. I'll give you an opportunity. Okay? We need to be focused because only the few that are focused are going to make it. And the sad part about it is, if you listen to most people that are in churches, they think they're okay.
Yeah, yeah.
They think that everything's fine and peachy, and the worst thing you could do is go to see somebody's funeral and find out there was something else other. And everybody thinks, oh yeah, he's in a much better place. No, he's not. He's in hell right now. Especially if he had the time to deny him. If his focus was all wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is very important. It's very significant.
Right.
Wide is the way that leads to destruction.
Right.
Wide. Meaning what? You're going to go to the narrow gate and you're walking on a cattle path. You ever seen a cattle path? It's about 4 inches wide. 4 to 6 inches wide. That's it. Yet you go to LA and you got 10 lane highways in both directions. That's the road to destruction. And many be there that find it. And then no matter what direction you come, you're going to still wind up in hell. See, but we don't want to take the time to teach this stuff because we don't want to offend anybody. I will gladly offend you 6 days a week and twice on the Sabbath. As long as it'll keep you from hell. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
This is where we are. I didn't say it, he did.
Right.
Narrow is the way. Narrow, narrow, narrow. So pick up your cross or your stake and follow him. If you pick up your stake and follow him, your focus is on him. Are you getting this? Fasting and praying, your focus is on him.
Right.
And that's where it needs to be. Nowhere else, just on him. And guess what? He's walking on that 6-inch little cow path. You don't see him walking on the middle of the freeway, 10 lanes across.
Right.
He's not there. He's on the little 6-inch little path right alongside it. And here's the funny part. He looks down and he goes, come on over. Invited him all the time. Come on over. I'm waiting. Come on. But we choose not to. And the worst part about it is listen, do you know that people who say the sinner's prayer and don't believe it in their heart are not saved?
Yeah.
It's 2 components. You have to confess with your mouth and believe in your heart. That is your salvation. That's just how it is. But somehow we think that if we get people to say the sinner's prayer, they're okay. No, they're not okay. Because you have to believe it in your heart. And if you don't, you're in trouble. Okay? I got a few more scriptures and then I'm going to close it. Let's go to the book of Acts. Right after John. Chapter 6. Verses 1 through 4.
Me.
Everybody there? I want to show you a scenario that's in the church. It's a good one. And in those days, when the Talmidim were increasing, there arose a grumbling against the Ivrim by the Yavonites because their widows were overlooked in the daily serving. So the 12 summoned a group of the Talmidim and said, "It is not pleasing for us to leave the word of Yahuwah to serve tables." I'm going to read that again. So the 12 summoned the group of the Talmudim and said, "It is not pleasing for us to leave the word of Yahweh to serve tables." Do you see that they are focused? They know what they need to do. They know the work that they've been called to do. And they're not going to turn around and do something else because that's not what they're supposed to be doing. See, that's very important when we have situations in the body where people have to step up who are called to do this, get anointed and prayed over, and then execute that job. Now, therefore, brothers, seek out among you 7 men who are known to be well filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and wisdom, whom we shall appoint for this duty. Now notice that when you're going to work in the ministry, you need to be men or women who are filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and who possess the Father's wisdom. Whom shall be appointed, okay? And that's, but we shall give ourselves continually to prayer and to serving the word. Oh. That's me. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Praying and serving this word. Okay, it's talking about me right there.
Right.
But it's also talking about you. Because wherever you are in the ministry and whatever work you do, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Praying and serving the word, whether it's in song or handing out the weekly bulletins, okay, or the women's ministry, okay, or secretarial thing, it doesn't matter what it is, or baking. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, now I want you to understand something. When you are where you need to be, go to verse number 8 in the same chapter. Okay? And Stephanos, also known as Stephen, filled with belief and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. This man is a man in the sanctuary who serves tables to widows. He feeds them their meals. He takes care of the widows in the sanctuary. Okay? And yet, because he is a man who's been established in the wisdom of Elohim and filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, he has power and authority, and he performs signs and wonders within the body. Meaning, when somebody's sick, oh, no problem. Whoa, lays hands on them, boom, they're up and going. When you are where you need to be, and you are following Elohim, and your focus is correct, the power and authority that's in the Shamayim is available to you here. But you need to be where you need to be. Your focus has to be right. Your heart has to be right. Everything about you has to say, I am a servant of Yahweh, my Elohim. And it's seen in what you do. Okay? I hope this is... Maybe I should have you all sit that way and put your fingers in one ear so I can speak that way and it won't come out the other side. Okay. You can see how important this is. This is focus within the body. I want you to understand something. These people here are talking about 2 separate ministries. The ministries of the fivefold who give themselves to the word,
Right.
and the ministry of helps that does everything else. The body functions because there are people in place taking care of things.
Right.
That's how it functions. And it all comes back to the person that the Father has elected to be the representative for him for those people. And get this, he's the biggest servant. His job is to serve those who are under him. That's his job. Whether it be in prayer or here right now or anything else that may show up, where he can be of service to them. Because that's what our King does from the right hand of his Father. That's just how it is. But unless we get our focus right, nothing happens. It's important that we get our focus right. Listen, you have no idea how I want to see Sister Gina sitting there. Right there.
Yep, yep.
Perfectly healed. Okay? And you know what her job is right now for this church? She's our number one intercessor.
Yeah, yeah.
That's her job. The Father has her at home while the enemy's trying to get at her, interceding on our behalf.
Yeah.
And on behalf of whatever else he has to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what she's supposed to be doing. And she's blessed at it. See what I mean? And that's how it goes. Okay, now go to the book of Luke, chapter 2. Chapter 2, verses 36 and 37. Now listen to this. And there was Hannah, a Neviah, a daughter of Penuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was advanced in years and had lived with a husband 7 years from her maidenhood, which means she widowed after she was married for 7 years. And she was a widow of about 84 years. So from the time she widowed to now, she's 84. Who did not leave the Mikdash, but served Elohim with fasting and prayers night and day.
Wow.
You don't think she was focused? She served Elohim. From the time she became a widow till she was 84, and she was still fasting and praying day and night. You don't think that's an intercessor? One who communicates with the Father at all times over all things pertaining to His people and His perfect will for those people. How wonderful. How many of us here pray for one another? Don't raise your hands. I don't want to know. I hope you all are. Why? Because it's important. That's why it's in the bulletin every week. Prayer is the most important thing we have. It's our greatest tool. It gives us access to the Father, the Bain, the Ruah, and everything in the kingdom, as long as our hearts and focus is right. Okay? Don't pray for things you're not going to get. It's just disappointing. For example, okay, Father, I need you to bless me with $250,000, and I'm going to open up the most beautiful liquor store you've ever seen. What? That ain't going to happen. It's contrary to what He has written. It ain't going to happen. Okay? Or, here's the other scenario. You have a fixed income of $2,000 a month. By the time it's all said and done, you barely got food. Father, I want you to bless me with a Ferrari. Really? You can't even afford your bills. You want to afford a Ferrari. Don't ask for things that you're not going to get. It's not, your prayers are not even going to get answered. Especially if you know you're not going to get it. Don't even pray it. Okay? The most important prayer that we can pray for anyone is the will of the Father to be done for that person, period. Once you pray the will of the Father in every area of their life, you have given them what they need. And you have given the Father permission to do so. Let's go to one more scripture and we'll close it out before you guys start falling asleep on me. Colossians 3. Colossians 3.
Amém.
Verses 1 and 2, and then we'll go on to something else in the same chapter. If then, notice it's a question. If then you were raised with Mashiach, seek which are above. Seek those which are above. If then you were raised with Mashiach, seek those which are above, where the Mashiach is seated at the right hand of Yahweh. In other words, if you are saved by Mashiach, then seek the things that are of Mashiach. And in case you're wondering where he's at, he's sitting at the right hand of power. He's sitting at the right hand of the Father. See, I didn't make that up, he said it. That's where he's sitting. So if you're one of them, you should be seeking the things that are above. In other words, we should be living in his reign here. I'm not making this up, it's right in front of you. Now, how many of you have lost your mind? I hope you still got it. Okay, nobody raised their hand, so you all got it. All right. Look at verse 2. Mind those above, not those on the earth. Mind those above, not those on the earth. In other words, you are in this world, you're not of this world. You are now living in the reign, so therefore, mind in your mind be established in the Shamayim, in the reign. That's amazing. Okay? You should be focused on things above. Now let's go to verses 12 to 17. Therefore, as chosen ones of Elohim, Kodesh and beloved, put on compassion, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, patience, bearing with one another, and forgiving each other if anyone has a complaint against another. Indeed, as Mashiach forgave you, so also should you. But above all this, love, which is a bond of perfection, and let the peace of Elohim rule in your heart, to which indeed you were called in one body to be filled with thanks. Let the word of Mashiach dwell in you richly, teaching, admonishing one another, and in all wisdom singing with pleasure in your heart to the Adon, in Tehillim and songs of praise and spiritual songs. And whatever you do, in word or deed, do all in the name of the Adon Yeshua, giving thanks to Yahuwah the Father through him. This is exactly what our focus should be. This is exactly what the world should be seeing. This is exactly how you should be conducting yourself. This is what we need to exactly be. Okay? We need to be people so that when the world sees, they see that we are beloved of Elohim. They see that we have compassion. They see that we have kindness. They see that we have humbleness of mind. They see that we have meekness, but there is no weakness. Oh, come on now. Did you hear what I just said? I said, they know that we have meekness, but there is no weakness. And we have patience, bearing all with one another. How is it that we can possibly say that we are who we are, but we can't forgive our brothers and sisters in the fellowship? Oh, come on now. Okay, but above all these things, you need to have love, a bond of perfection, and then the peace of Elohim rule in your heart, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be filled with thanks. Do you know what is more beautiful than a joyful heart of thanksgiving? A joyful heart of thanksgiving in a person who's also filled with the Ruach. This is exactly what it is. This is the entire focus right here. How wonderful. Focus on the things above, and the world will see that you live in his reign. Wow. You ever wondered why wherever Yeshua was, there was always a crowd of people around him because he lived in the reign of the Shamayim. And everyone saw it here, and they were attracted to it. They were attracted to it. They were attracted to his love. They were attracted to his meekness. They were attracted to the fact that he was always willing to help someone. His kindness, his mercy, his grace, how wonderful he was. Everything about him says, I want to be like him. When people look at you, do they see you like the same way Mahatma Gandhi saw those people? That's a tough one to swallow. I don't want you to answer that to me. Answer it to yourself. What is the world seeing when they see you? Do they see someone who's focused on the Shamayim, or do they see someone who's focused on the world?